Hey everybody, I'm Diehl Stacey, and you are watching Production Walkthroughs. So the concept of this is I'm going to take you through one of the songs I've produced and kind of walk you through it. That's what a production walkthrough is, I guess. Let's just get to the mixing scene. There we go. Okay, so first off, I just want to show you guys the song. It's really cool. It's 7 Days by a band called Milk that I recorded a while ago, and real good guys. Some of my best buddies. Fuck. Yeah, I was in a band with them for a while. We did covers. We did open mic at a bar in our town called Lizards, and it was good times, man. I just I decided to take audio a little bit more seriously, so we fell out a little bit, but yeah, let's I'll play it for you and check it out.
My boner. Yes. I put my boner in a song.
Yes, I left that there on purpose. It suited the vibe of the song, and these guys are silly, man. I love them. But yeah, that was 7 Days by Milk. Local Sarnia band. Check them out. Hire them for stuff. Just give them your money. All right, let's delve a little bit deeper into the session here. So first off, very important. Very, very important. Organization. I wouldn't be able to do half of this automation. You guys see here if I didn't have these markers up here. Markers are super important. I can't recommend them enough. Not only can you keep track of the sections, but you can fucking zoom around the song like this. That's not what I wanted. Okay, so I can't specifically, but if I didn't have my video software open, it would be fine. Okay, I just gotta try not to hit numbers. Okay, organization, super important. Colors for every different kind of instrument, also very important. Because you gotta act quick in mixing, man. You wanna just go with your gut and operate on vibe, and if you have to search for stuff, that just takes away that creative spark that's super important with this kind of stuff. But like you see here, I have all my synth aux tracks, like a light shade of blue, percussion, orange, different shades of pink for the vocals. I find that easier to really see if I'm just like going real quick and trying to search for something, you know? Like for instance, I got the lead and no, that's not it. The lead and the vocal dub a different color than some of these outro vox or backups or what have you. Guitars are red, bass is blue. These can be any colors you want. You just got to use the same ones every time, because it'll train your brain to like think, oh, it's blue, it's bass, you know? Blue's bass. Light blue, synth. Orange, percussion, you know? Y'all get it. It's fine. So up next, we have gain staging and routing. Reaper's cool, man. Unlimited routing options are great. So first of all, everything goes to this master fader right here. Leave it at 0. Don't fuck with that. But if you want to adjust master stuff, fucking write some automation or something. Don't dick around with it normally. So mix bus goes into the master. It's just another step between all the tracks in the master. So I have a lot of my mix bus processing on here. Or maybe I don't. Oh, for this session, all my mix bus. This is an old session, right? I've changed the way I operate nowadays. Excuse me. But so none of this is important. This I don't fucking. This turns on partway through the song. I think not partway through. Near the end. Way over here. You know, when it switches to like the quiet kind of outro, it turns on reverb, and it also turns on a band filter, which just basically gets rid of some high and low end, so all you got is mids. It sounds it's a good way for making things sound smaller, which is exactly what I was going for here. Let's check that out. So that's all just reverb and EQ automated on section, and I think it sounds great. That's my stomach. I don't know if you guys heard that. It was fucking loud. All right. So going into the mix bus, we have all the group channels. Vocal out. Vocal out's a kind of a weird thing I have. So I have 2 vocal buses, and one that can control just the raw vocals, not just the raw vocals, but like the processed vocals, but without effects on them, like reverb and delay. And then I have another bus up here which just controls all the vocals, and including the reverbs and delays. I'm not entirely sure if I did that on this session though. Like I said, this is I'm just kind of revitalizing an old session. So the routing isn't necessarily the same, but for the most part, it should be roughly right. All right. So we have group tracks, right? Other than the drums, I'm just using a MIDI going out to several tracks. But I'll get more into that later when we reach the drum section. So, yeah. What's next? Let's you're gonna want to balance everything pretty well with just clip gain. I don't know if you guys can see it here, but that's up 10 dB. Good. If you get a rough balance with just your clip gain, I find it's super useful for gain staging in a mix. And make sure you are below 0 dB before you reach the mix bus, otherwise you're going to have problems. Not that I claim to be an expert on any of this stuff, but it's just something I've learned over the years. Gain staging is super important. You don't want to be clipping plugins. You don't want to be clipping your master. You don't want to be running too hot into compressors to the point where you can't turn them down. You know, very important to have some conservative levels. I aim for all my tracks to come in about -6 dB before the master. Just a rule of thumb. Okay. Check out the drums. Audio. Right at the beginning. So I programmed these drums. We didn't have their drummer there that day, Lenny B. Super good drummer, but it just wasn't possible. I programmed them. As you can see, it's not all quantized to the grid. I find it sounds super unnatural if you do that in this kind of music. This is like ska, rock, punk kind of vibe. So if you're going to make program drums sound good in this kind of music, you got to rough them up a little bit as far as timing and velocity wise. Check out some velocities on these drums real quick. All right. So you see that how I have the second hi-hat hits, the ones on the end a little bit lower than, not a little bit lower, almost half as low as these hi-hat hits. This is just how drummers play. So if you don't know this stuff, just fucking, I don't know. Go listen to your favorite music and just kind of try to hear what the drummer's doing as far as, hand-wise, dynamics-wise, as far as hitting separate parts of the kit. It's a super important skill to learn as a producer. I'm lucky enough to have played drums in, my entire life, so. Yeah, I kind of understand what my arms are doing, my legs are doing while I'm playing the kit, so it helps out a lot. Yeah, it sounds, let me play it again for you. Doesn't sound too sampley, you know? If I didn't do this, it would sound super robotic, but sounds pretty good. Okay, so it turns out that halfway through the last recording I did, we lost sound coming through the microphone. But I think I fixed the issue, and I think we're good to go again. So I think we left off on drums. And I got to introduce you guys to the sampler we're using. It's Riot Drums by It Might Get Loud Productions. These guys are great. Check it out. Pretty dope, right? I really like the roominess on the kit. Just had chili for lunch. Ooh, sorry. It was just a little bit too much for the kick, so I had to turn it down a little bit. But you can adjust the room sound on, well, everything, so pretty dope. See what processing we have on here. Nothing on the drum bus, but we got quite a bit of stuff on the kick. Let's check that out. So first off, we got console 1, which I can drag over for you. Just hold on. Where'd it go? Yes. Nothing on here. Where'd it go? Yeah, nothing on here. All right. I usually have it on my other monitor, so it's let's check out this SSL channel. Oh yeah, I couldn't get the fucking it working the other day because I hadn't restarted my computer in fucking week. That's what the problem was. Okay, so as far as processing goes on the kick, we got the SSL channel, which I used instead of the console 1 apparently. Analog turned off always. Just introduces noise. You don't want that. I took a little bit out at 300, about 3 dB. No, 3.1. Yep. 5.3 dBs added at 3.5. The numbers don't really matter. I boosted a ton of top end on the kick because it was pretty dull, just coming out right out of the sampler. So, and then I think I compressed it a little bit. Let's check it out. Let's just take this stuff off for now. So that's with, without. So just adding a ton of top end, a ton of attack, and aggression. Low attack. Add a little bit more punch to the kick. Cleared some of those boxy frequencies out too. Am I doing any? Minus 0.1 dB at 50. That's not doing anything. I'm sure that was just a mistake. Oh, sorry. Shouldn't be talking while playback's going. Okay. Up next, we got this fucking crazy thing. There is a ton of mids in these samples. A ton. Like, you guys heard the finished kick sound. There's still, like, I left a ton of mids in. But look at this. This is fucking negative 14 dB of fucking 450. And then look at all these scoops I have on top of that. A little bit more top end there. It's sounding a little bit papery, so I took a lot of the mids down as well. And then it was a little boomy in the bottom end, so I brought it down with a shelf at 130. Yeah. All right, dB and a half. That's fine. So with and without. Cleans it up. Sounds fucking great. And guess up next we just have another layer of compression. I don't think I'm doing too much on this. Well, a few dB. Just adding something. I don't know what it is. It does feel like it's making the kick punchier, but I have a pretty slow attack, 3 milliseconds, so I don't really get how that works, but it is. Sounds great. All right. Let's move on to the snare. So just without everything, snare sounds like this. Not too bad, right? Little bit honky, a little bit MIDI. Let's see what we're doing on the console one. Probably nothing because it wasn't working, like I said. Oh no, I'm doing something. Okay, so a little bottom boost. Hey. Hey. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this quick. Keeping out some of the mids, not very much. Adding some punch and taking away some sustain. Adding some drive. Do a with and without. So this is without. And with. Definitely is punchier, definitely feels more full. Some of the annoying ringy frequencies were taken away just because of one of those high mid dips. Definitely helped a lot. All right, up next, we have the L1. I don't like the new skin they have. I like the legacy one. My favorite. I should actually just go ahead and save that as default. Legacy. Perfect. Okay, let's see what it's doing. So it's just kind of leveling it out a little bit. Taking a little bit of that first peak, you know, the first little bit of transient out. But not all the time, that's important. Let's do a before and after. See how much more full it feels? It feels really good to me. Okay. Up next, fab filter. So it looks like we're taking out a little bit more of the mids. See, these drums are full of these mids, but they sound like real drums recorded in a room are full of mids. So that's what I like about these drums. They sound really natural, and a lot of drum samplers have really processed sounding drums. I like the more natural appeal. So I added a little bit of top at around 7.5K. Took a little bit of paper out of the snare at 3.7. Almost 800. We took out some a little bit of mids, and then a little bit more mids at 500. Little boost at 200 in one. That gonna add a little bit more bottom punch to the snare. Like it. Let's do a before and after. It's getting better. Now at this point, I decided I didn't really like the snare as much as I thought I did for this kind of genre of music. I wanted a little something a little bit more high pitched that I could mix in with it to give it a little bit more snap, and that's exactly what I did. We got Slate Trigger. Sample am I using? The Dream Snare Z3, which is something that Trigger just one of the samples Trigger comes with. Sounds sick. Great for this kind of music. And it's mixed in 62%, so there's a little bit more of the sample than there is of the drum sampler. But I think that the Dream Snare is a little bit quieter, so I think that's why I did that. I think it's probably more like mixed half and half. Let's check it out before and after. So that was before, do after. Sounds fucking killer, bud. Now, after adding that sample, I thought, I'm pretty sure I thought that it had a little bit too much snap and punch now. Or maybe I'm adding more, who knows? This compressor is kind of weird. I don't think the attack times really reflect what the compressor is actually doing, which is the case in a lot of these old analog modeled plugins. Let's check it out. So that was after. Let me try before. Okay, so we're adding even more punch. All right. Thing's really smacking you in the face. And I think we added some verb just to kind of put it a little bit farther back in the mix after getting it all nice and punchy. Let's check out before. And after. You know, you want to note that I don't have the reverb up so high as to where it's overcrowding like the snare. I just have it enough to where it's it'll lend itself to sounding more glued into the kit. It's hard to describe. I will show you guys the difference before and after with the rest of the kit as when we start bringing all the pieces in together. That was the snare. Let's move on to toms. I didn't do shit. Where Tom's playing. Okay, toms are pretty hard to find because I don't have the actual audio tracks on here. They're just being fed the out from drum sample. Well, I guess I could use the MIDI to find it. Let's take a look. There it is. So I didn't do fuck all of these toms. And maybe I should have, because they sound a little bit super MIDI, super roomy, super bombastic. But in the mix, I never really felt like they were a problem, so I left them. No big deal. They don't sound bad. But if I would have paid a little bit more attention to them, I probably would have done a little bit more or something, you know? But I didn't feel like it was a problem at the time, so I left them. It's fine. No worries. Let's check out the overheads, which is just all the cymbals. Check out the routing again. All these cymbals are just going into this track. Overheads, rooms, it's all cymbal stuff is going into the overhead bus. I could have routed this differently. I could have routed it so that each room had its own output, or I could have gone crazy with it and I could have been like, oh yeah, snare room, snare overhead, snare other room. So each part of the kit would have 4 tracks essentially. I wanted to keep it simple, so fuck that shit. So that's them all processed. Sounded pretty. See what we're doing. Let's see the before. And after. So it sounds like I thinned them out a little bit. I added some L1 just to kind of add some sustain and kind of even out the cymbals. Took out a fair bit of 1600. Guess I thought it was harsh. Let's check it out actually. Not necessarily harsh, but not the most pleasant frequency. This is what I took out for them to being harsh, I think. Oh yeah. That sounds like shit. And also this right here. -3 dB. Let's check it out. Ugh. You do not want that. And then I took out a lot of brilliance, so I added some back in with the high shelf here. And what else did I do? Some more EQ. Okay. See, this is the EQ that I had on my my master bus while I was just trying to. That's a really good mixing technique, by the way. If your mix sounds like shit and you don't really know why, take an EQ to your master bus and start dicking around with it. And if it sounds better, taking some stuff out, don't just leave it on the master bus. This is where I fucked up in the past. Don't just leave it on the master bus. Drag it over to what you think those frequencies are coming from, and then disable it on your master bus and enable it on your individual track. So in this case, I did it on the overhead. I was on my master bus and I was doing a couple things and figured this sucked, and dragged it over to my overheads. Turned out this is exactly what the overheads needed. Altogether, sounds like this. Nice and bright, but not harsh. Not too shabby, man. Altogether, the drums sound like this. It's a very rock sounding kit. All you metal guys aren't gonna like the sound of this kit very much, but I love the roominess of it. I love the big sounding toms. I love now that I added the sample to the snare, I love the sound of the snare. If you're a metal guy, Riot drums are probably not for you unless you use a shit ton of processing on them. I'm kind of wondering how far I could take them. I kind of want to try using them in a metal production. I do feel like there's better things to be using for metal stuff, but for rock stuff, this is my jam, man. Sick. All right, let's move on to bass. Actually, just for an experiment, let's hear bass and drums together. I'm gonna leave all the processing on the bass. This is something I like to do, although it doesn't really tell me too much. I guess it's convenient for, balancing the bass and the drums, but you don't want to completely rely on that, because you will find that if you add more instruments into your mix, it's going to upset the balance of the balances you've already had. So you really got to do your balancing in the context of the whole mix. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. Let's check out the bass and drums. Okay, so I'm probably going to take out that part on the solo because it's heavy as fuck, and I automate that amp, the dark glass, on during the choruses, but we'll get into that as it comes up. Let's go back to the verse and go into the chorus. How about that? See, more of a clean sound in the verses, more what you'd take into ska. Fucking rad, right? That's so cool. All right. Yeah, let's get into the processing a little bit. I'm going to turn off all the plugins and you'll see what I started with. We're just going to do bass. So not a bad bass recording. Let's start turning on some plugins. So we have the L1 first of all, and that's on the individual track. I have the bus soloed, but I only have one other track, so it doesn't really matter. So let's turn on the L1 and see what it's doing. Legacy. Always. So it's barely doing anything. I've seen it hit once. I could actually probably lower it, but I'm not mixing right now. I'm just kind of walking you guys through my session. So it's getting a little bit of that clacky stuff that happens every once in a while, which is fairly typical with a bass if you're playing it right. So up next, we have the Dark Glass Ultra, which is a super dope plugin and should probably never be used for this kind of music, but I was feeling experimental and I think it sounds pretty good in context. Not so great in solo, but it meshes well with the guitars in the chorus. Find. Because I also have metal amp sims on the guitars in the chorus, so no wonder it blends well. So this only turns on during the chorus, and for now the solo. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that, but that's a decision I'll make another day. So let's listen to the chorus. This is how the plugin just comes. I did nothing to this, and it sounds sick. Super cool. Up next, we have a U. So, what do we cut out of this? We cut 8 dB of 13K. got a little bit of 176 and a little bit of 125. I'm pretty sure that was just to get the low end of the guitars to come through a little bit more, and it helps. It's this is a decision you kind of have to make during when you're listening to stuff all together, because if you don't, it's you're not going to know to make these decisions, because like this wasn't really something that was bugging me in the context of just the bass being in solo. This is probably something I did after I brought the whole band together, you know? I wanted to have the low end of the guitars have a little bit more room to breathe. So I'm pretty sure that's why I did that. Now this, I'm pretty sure I cut because it was an ugly frequency. Let's check this out. Oh yeah. Tightens it right up. Sounds so much better. All right, and last we have an L1. What's this doing? So it's just grabbing a little bit of those bass peaks. Just the really like slappy string noise kind of stuff. Not doing too much, but doing a little bit more than the other one we have on here. Let's check out the bass bus. I don't think you need a before and after on. It's not a huge change or anything. So we got a little low end shelf there. Bringing down some. Oh, it starts at 189. So we're just a general low end turn down, and then this I'm pretty sure was to make some room for the snare. Generally in guitars and bass, you don't really need like the 200-ish area. Jamie King just fucking annihilates it. Seeing on his Nail the Mix. Fucking crazy. And then another notch at 16K, because apparently I didn't notch it enough the first time. Oh, this is around 13. Okay. 16 needed some love too. And let's check out how it sounds. Tightens it right up. Sounds great. This bass could probably stand to have a little bit more compression on it too, but I wanted to leave things sounding not too processed. I'd rather be under processing stuff than over processing, honestly. Move on to the guitars. So as far as guitar goes, something to mention about the bass. There's some automation here that's pretty important to recognize, I feel. So this is the dark glass turning on and off. Turns on right before the chorus there. And then does it for this chorus too. You know what? I'm calling it. I'm gonna turn this. Sounds ridiculous. Sounds great everywhere else, but I don't need solo. There we go. Perfect. All right. Now that it's gone, I kind of miss it. We'll see in the context of the whole mix. I might choose to bring it back. But yeah, guitars. So we have just the two main ska guitars, which I've dirtied up a little bit. They're not like super clean, super ska-y. Like, I'd say Milk is more of like a punk band than a ska band. So I made choices to kind of reflect that. So in the verse, it's just the left guitar. I automate the right guitar out because it's more of a traditional ska thing to only have one. You know, it doesn't really make sense to have two like offbeat ska guitars when it's not like a huge part of the vibe of the verse anyway. You know, I bring back the other one in the choruses though. And during the solos, I think, maybe find these. Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking at. It's I've got pretty bad eyesight, and the lights are kind of in my eyes. Sorry. During the chorus, we also have another set of guitars, which I call guitar lead and left and right, but they're not really leads. Let's check them out. All together with the other ones. Adds a cool vibe. As far as processing goes on the guitars, as far as the rhythm guitars go, start in the chorus, and so this guitar has Fortin Nameless by Neural DSP. Really good company, really good. The Dark Glass was actually made by Neural DSP as well. Really good company, really good software. Let's bring up Fortin. So I didn't change this at all. These kind of plugins I can just put on and they sound great right away. I didn't really fuck with it too much because I was trying to go for a vibe, and I liked what it did originally. So let's just take off all the processing, and I'll show you what it sounds like with just the amp sim. Just the one guitar. I'll make it center for now. And then it switches back to bias amp. Yeah. Wonder if it'll open. Bias is a little slow sometimes. Time for a vape break. Fucking thing. You know what? I'm not going to show you guys. It's a Huh? Gonna work? Huh? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so it's a Highway DR103, which I have no idea what amp it's modeled off of. Something by Vox, probably. I really thought I was using like a Marshall sim or something. I think I am for the lead, like the solo guitar. But anyway, here's the settings if you want them. I don't think it would fit any song but this one, so good luck to you. But yeah, let's see what that sounds like. You also may have noticed there's some reverb on there. I added it at the bottom here. I think it just kind of puts the guitar in a space during the verse. I like it. Okay, so after that, this is kind of a mixing no-no. I'm using the same EQ to EQ both sets of amps, but I've made choices that I'm pretty sure work mostly well on both. It's just me being lazy, honestly. I was moving quick and just decided to go about doing stuff with automation rather than making separate tracks, which, you know, less convenient for sure. And you can't make too many EQ decisions that'll affect one and will fuck up another. You know what I mean? See what that sounds like. We'll go during the chorus. That is the verse. Takes out some of that mud. Sounds a lot better. Put that over to the left again. And then we have a guitar bus with 3 sets of EQs. So I'm pretty sure I did the exact thing that I said is stupid to do. Let's see what we got going on. So yeah, that's I was like, fuck the top end. And I got rid of a lot of it. The Fortin Nameless is a pretty I didn't EQ it at all, which I'm sure if I would have spent some time EQing it, I could have made it so all this was unnecessary. But like I said, I was moving quick, and I think I still ended up with a pretty good result. So, but if you want the best result, definitely get the best source tone you can before you even start mixing, because then you end up doing stuff like this, and I'm sure there's some more crazy stuff down here. Oh, there's this. Taking out some similar frequencies. And then scooping out a little bit more of the mud. Let's do a before and after on that. Less muddy. Oh, see, and me cutting out a lot of the top end on both tracks, I ended up having to add a filter on here to get rid of some of the low end during the verses, which I believe will turn on when I go to a verse. Yep. All the bass in the chorus, but none of it in the verse, or at least not as much. So that's kind of how I got around the fact that I was taking away top end from the other amp that I had automated on during the verse. This shit's kind of hard to explain. I'm sorry I've made it so complicated on you guys to follow. So that's the guitars. Let's I'm gonna play from the verse into the chorus one time for you, so you can get a listen at that. Not too bad, right? Let's move on. So we got, let's play what we have so far. We got drums, bass, and guitar. All right, let's move on to vocals. Or should we do vocals? No, let's move on to vocals. Okay, I'll play a little bit of what we got so far. Not so far, but what we got.
Memory is bad. I don't believe I did see you last night. I don't remember, I just can't remember. I can't recall. I don't remember, I just can't remember. Nothing at all.
So, not the cleanest performance or tuning or editing, actually. I tried to keep it pretty easy on the editing and the tuning because, like, I wanted it to maintain that raw vibe, but just give it a little bit more polish. So it kind of sounds like shit in solo, but all together with the other instruments, it sounds pretty good. Let me play that for you. See, this is why you don't want to do things in solo. I mean, you can sometimes for taking out like resonances and mud, but you for a lot of it you want to do it in the context of the mix, because like sometimes things will sound like shit in solo and you put it in the mix and it sounds fucking awesome. And sometimes the opposite too. Sometimes you'll be EQing something in solo and it'll turn out great, like full and punchy and awesome, but then you put it in the mix and it doesn't even fit. Mixing's all about compromises, I guess. So let's go through these vocals real quick, one at a time. I'll turn off everything on the bus and everything on the individual track. A lot of the processing for these vocals is the same, but if it's not, I will go through it. I'm pretty sure the double and the main vocal are treated the same, though. So, cool. First thing we have is some tuning, which helps a lot. That's part of the verse into the chorus. You guys are used to that. But let's just play it raw.
I don't believe it, did I see you last night? I don't remember, I just can't remember. I can't recall.
Not a bad performance. Could be helped out with a little bit of tuning. What did I do tuning wise?
It's bad, I don't believe it, did I see you last night? I don't remember, I just can't remember. I can't recall. I don't remember. I just can't remember. Nothing that.
See, if I was smart, I'd tune that.
It's bad. I don't believe it did. I don't remember. I just can't remember.
That's why I didn't tune it. That's all right. No production's perfect. So that helps a little bit. Then I put an L1 on there. Let's see what that's doing.
Nothing at all.
More than I would like it to in an ideal world, but I just kind of evened out the performance. Quite a lot, actually. Like, look at that. Probably was a 12 dB at some point.
Nothing at all.
Damn. You can hear a little bit of a tuning artifact there, too, but it doesn't bug me in the mix. You guys probably didn't even notice it until now. What am I doing? Okay, up next we have Head Crusher, which is a cool new plugin I just got from Plugin Alliance? Audio Assault. Sorry. Really good plugin. I just wanted to dirty up this vocal a little bit. I have the tone turned way to the right, drive up a little bit, mix turned down to 75. I wanted to bring back a little bit of that clean vocal in there as well. Yeah, let's see how that sounds.
Nothing at all. I don't remember, I just can't remember. I can't recall. I don't remember, I just can't remember.
You know, this isn't a pop song. So I really wanted to grunge up that vocal a little bit. And I think it adds some nice harmonics in there. And not only that, but like some dirt, you know?
I don't remember, I just can't remember. I can't recall.
Sounds a little almost fuzzy. Like a peach. All right, up next we have another cool plugin by Audio Assault. You guys should definitely check this one out. It's the HSQ or HQ2. Sorry. So basically, it says it's a hybrid equalizer, which basically what that means is it has like almost a multi-band compression aspect to it, but it just kind of looks like a compressor. So basically the way it works is and it has a, real quick, it has a automatic gain control. So as you turn up the knobs, it'll stay the same volume, but the tonality of the track will change. I'll show you. Really cool.
I don't remember, I just can't remember. I can't recall. I don't remember, I just can't remember. Nothing at all.
I actually really like that 1K band. I'm going to keep that up a little bit. Brings the vocal a little bit more into focus. But yeah, really cool plugin. I'm just doing, taking out a little bit of the low mids, completely trashing the anything below 60, because who needs that? Boosting a little bit 1K for some presence. Maybe not presence, but like upfrontness, that in-your-face quality. You know what I mean? And a little bit of top for some air. Let's do before and after.
I don't remember, I just can't remember. I can't recall. I don't remember, I just can't remember. Nothing at all.
So it sounds like it's like the vocals way back here with it turned off, and then it brings it closer to you without necessarily giving it more volume. It's cool, man. I really love this plugin. Bringing out some top end definitely made it a little harsh on the S's, so we put a de-esser on there.
I don't remember, I just can't remember. I can't recall. I don't remember, I just can't remember.
So it's doing about 6 dB of gain reduction, and that was enough to just kind of keep the vocal sounding like it becomes a thing to where when the S's are too loud, you find that you're constantly turning down the vocal, but not really being able to hear it that well, which is a weird kind of concept to think about. When the S's are so loud that every time you turn up the vocal to the spot it should be in, it sounds too loud to you. So that's something to be aware of, the S's. Say once you start compressing the vocal and start bringing out some top end, those S's can be really harsh. So that's something to keep in mind. And then next we have H delay. Like I said, old session. Normally I would put this on a separate track and use it as put it to 100% and just send a certain amount of vocals into it. But here I decided to use it as an insert. So let's see what settings we got. So I like the whole little like stereo slapback thing going on here. Pretty short amount of feedback. It's just enough to kind of give the vocal some attitude. And not a whole lot of it, but it definitely helps. And then high pass and low pass, so it doesn't really get in the way of the main vocal. It just helps it blend in a little bit more into the track. I find if you use the filters, that sounds like. Here's before.
I don't remember, I just can't remember.
After.
I don't remember, I just can't remember. I can't recall.
It's cool, man. Puts it in a space, gives it some vibe. Sounds sick. Apparently, on the bus, I also have another head crusher. I just don't like clean vocals, apparently. Oh, sorry. So, this is before.
I don't remember, I just...
And this is affecting all the vocals. Here, you guys haven't heard any of this. So, one sec. All right.
I don't remember, I just can't remember. I can't recall. I don't remember.
For this one, I didn't do anything but turn up the drive and change it to vintage. For that, almost sounds like a tape-ish sound, you know? Yeah, it helps warm it up a little bit, and it's kind of pushing it a little bit more to the forefront, which I liked. It was cool. So all the other tracks... Oh, wait, we have one more plugin on the chain. Speaking of tape, I added Kramer tape. See what that sounds like.
I don't remember, I just can't remember. I can't recall.
Okay, so I'm adding a little bit of saturation with it, but its main duty is this little feedback knob here. I love this thing in combination with a short like slapback delay. It sounds so fucking sick, man. Check it out.
I don't remember, I just can't remember. I can't recall.
Add some more vibe, man. Really like it. For everything else, all this stuff, I don't even use these. Probably just get rid of these. Gone. Also, make sure you guys save all the fucking time, because crashes do happen and they're the worst. So we got some outro vocals, and we have some more outro vocals that I recorded. Let's check out these ones first.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
So these I have pre-processed in a different session a long time ago, and I couldn't find the originals, but they're not that important of a part anyway. So I was able to just kind of import them, turn them down, and threw an L1 on them. Check out what that's doing.
I don't remember.
Absolutely nothing. All right. So those are those. They just fit in the mix, because they've been pre-processed. Here's some backing vocals I did for the band. The outro is missing a little something, so I thought I'd add in some vocals. Check them out.
Been 7 days. Been 7 days.
See them in context.
7 days. Been 7 days. Been 7 days.
Adds a little something. Let's I'll take them out and then I'll put them back in. Hear the difference.
7 days. Been 7 days. Been 7 days.
Really fills it out. Really makes it feel good. I tried to make this ending as big as humanly possible, because they're like a 3-piece band, right? They there isn't a whole lot of variation in this song, so I had to kind of add my own, which has been a really fun time, I say. I really like this production. So for my vocals, I really didn't do too much. Let's
Been 7 days.
Pretty shitty.
Been 7 days.
I tuned just the held note, note, so.
Been 7 days.
So it kind of matched up well, but I didn't want it to sound too tuned, you know? I wanted it to sound like kind of rough gang vocals, but I also didn't want it to interfere with the main vocal and make it sound all out of tune, you know what I mean? So for it to blend, I had to tune the notes. And I think it's all just a major chord
Been 7 days.
that I'm hitting.
Been 7 days. Been 7 days.
Yep.
Been 7 days.
They sound a little bit tuned, but it's fine.
Been 7 days.
Pretty cool. And then I added a little bit of a different delay from when I added it to the lead vocal. I made this one wide as fuck and not too wet, but the feedback is up a little higher and there's no filter on it, and it's a quarter note delay as opposed to a 16th. So
7 days.
that's what that sounds like.
Been 7 days.
Yep. So that's it for vocals. Let's move on to the aux bus, which is basically just a bunch of synths. I don't know why I call it the aux bus, but I don't know. I've seen it somewhere. Someone does it. Someone somewhere does this. I'm not the only one, I swear. So I didn't really put any processing on any of this because I didn't feel like it needed it. Other than the organ, which just has a high pass filter on it. I didn't need the organ competing with the low end of the bass and the kick, you know. So that's fine. Oh, I should mention, on my vocal out, I have some additional processing. I totally forgot. Fuck. Here we go. Well, I have an L1 on here. Let's see what that's doing.
I don't remember. I can't remember. I just can't remember.
Barely anything. I think it's just there to make sure the vocals don't get too loud when the background vocals come in, or like the dubs or whatever. So it just kind of glues all the vocal tracks together. Then another layer of EQ, which I'm sure I just did this because I was like, oh, my vocals are too harsh, because I have fucking several layers of distortion on them. So let's listen to this. Actually, that could be interesting. That doesn't sound good at all. And then I cut some of the mud, I guess.
I don't remember. I just can't remember.
Sounds a little cloudy. I mean, I probably could have avoided this step, but I just wanted them a little less muddy and a little less harsh. I guess it's what mixing is, you know? It's all subjective. Unless you're fucking stupid about it. Got that part out. Makes sense. All right. So we have some MIDI in here, and I don't use all of it. That's the MIDI for the organ. A lot of it I did in a previous session. So here's the synth stuff for the intro. This is cool.
Been 7.
Yeah, that's dope as fuck. I'm pretty sure I was just dicking around with a MIDI keyboard and a bunch of guitar pedals. It was fun to make, man. It sounds great. It goes really well with the brass synth. See, those sound way too clean, but you add in the other synth and it sounds fucking dirty. Somehow adding that really weird synthetic sounding synth somehow makes the brass more realistic sounding. It's super weird. I don't understand how that works, but lo and behold, it does. So here's some strings. A little quiet. Here's some strings. And I believe these are just one note. Yep. Just to add some high end to the chorus. It's important to kind of I don't know. What did I just? It's important to really add things to the chorus to make it pop, and that's what a producer is responsible for. So here I am. So I didn't do anything to this. It's literally just one high note. So I'll show you before and after. It actually makes quite the difference, but you're not going to be able to hear it, but you'll miss it when it's gone. So I'll keep it in at first and then I'll take it out.
I don't remember, I just can't remember. I can't recall. I don't remember, I just can't remember. How to sing this fucking song. 7 days.
See? Sounds sick. So last but not least, we have a bunch of outro percussion. I didn't do any processing on any of this, so I just kind of threw it in there real quick and made the cut. Sounded pretty good. Sounds cheesy as fuck, but this is for a band called Milk, so I don't think they mind that much. They love the cheese. Love it. So we got a shaker. Got the tambo. We got, I forget what these are called, but I just referred to it as the fish thing. Someone know what that is? Someone tell me. We got a big old drum going on the one. Maybe not so big, but helps to accentuate the first note of the one, or the two, or the three, or the four. You know, music. And we got this fucking stupid ass whistle thing, but I love it. Huh. I don't know why that's still playing, but anyway. So yeah, we got a corny ass whistle. All together, it sounds like this. Sounds fucking weird, but it sounds really good in context. Check it out. I'll take it in and out.
7 days. In 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 7 days.
I didn't realize what a crazy difference that made. Oh my god. That sounds sick. And it's not like you can hear all the percussion perfectly or anything. It's just, it adds that depth, the sound. It's really interesting. Did I go over the master yet? Not entirely sure if I did. But we'll go over that real quick. How about that? Where's the mask? Okay, here we go. We got a bus compressor, and it's just kind of gluing the whole track together. I don't think it's doing too much, but let's check it out.
7 days. In 7 days. In 7 days. In 7 days. In 7 days.
So it was barely doing anything. I didn't actually decided to turn it up. Adds a little bit of glue. I really like this compressor. Used it quite a lot in this mix. Always a go-to. And then we have L1 for some loudness. I didn't want to push it too hard. This isn't a mastering limiter. So really all I'm doing is taking off a little bit of the transient peaks of the drum to kind of bring up the sides and all the sustainy elements of the mix.
7 days. In 7 days. In 7 days. In 7 days. In 7 days. I don't remember. I just can't remember.
Okay, so in a lot of parts, it's barely even hitting it. So, definitely not a crushed mix in the least. Very dynamic, very raw sounding. I really enjoyed working on this one. As far as automation goes, we could run through that real quick. So like I was mentioning before, we have a little bit of an automation thing going on during the end of the song. So I wanted it to go into a really small section where it's just like the lead guitar player, Sean, his vocal, and light drums. And I wanted to make that sound really small, so I ended up putting a EQ on the master bus, which just has a high pass and low pass filter, and just to take up some highs and lows, obviously. And that only turns on near the end of the song when I want it to be really small, you know? Get what I'm saying? And also on the mix bus, the true verb turns on. I wanted a little bit of reverb for that too, so I'll play it going into the part. Let's check it out.
In 7 days. In 7 days. In 7 days. In 7 days.
Ugh, I don't like having to chew my coffee. That was disgusting. There's like coffee grounds in there. Ugh. All right. So we got vocals going up during the chorus and then down in the verse. That's only because like I don't have a double for the chorus, so I kind of lose some volume going into the chorus because there isn't a double, so I had to boost the volume a little bit to compensate. Typical mixing thing. This is turning the amps and dark glass on and off for the choruses, off for the verses. Same thing. I turn the vocal dub. I'm using the same track for the vocal dub as I am for the chorus highs, which may not make sense to you. I'll show you.
Out of the race, nothing's changed, nothing at all.
Listen to that tuning artifact. That was terrible. It's a good thing it's a double. All right, so it's a little louder in the chorus where the high part comes in.
I don't remember, I just can't remember nothing at all. Been 7 days since I went. I don't remember, I just can't remember.
Okay, so I have some work to do on tuning this track. I don't know, something must have gotten fucked up when I was sticking around with this, but I didn't even notice in the full context of the mix, so It's probably not a huge deal, but I would like to fix it a little. You can hear the tuning artifacts if you're paying real close attention. So I will fix it later, but for now, let's move on. So that's just the volume automation for the vocals. Not a whole lot of automation going on in this track. Oh, so we mute the vocal double here for the last little bit. Like I said, I didn't want it to sound very produced there. I want it to sound small and just like dudes hanging out in a room and jamming, you know? Or a couple dudes anyway. I think that's it as far as automation. Other than just the fade out at the end there. Yeah, I think that's it. Anyway, guys, it's been nice hanging out with you. I hope to do these more often. I really enjoyed this. So if you'd like more of these, definitely be sure to subscribe, like, and hit that little notification bell I guess YouTube has now. Well, anyway, guys, I hope some of this was useful to you. I'm Diehl Stacey. I hope... Anyway, guys, I hope some of you found this useful. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that little notification bell for more stuff. And if you need an audio engineer, hire me. Go to diehlstacey.com and fill out the contact stuff, and I'll get a hold of you. Adios.
Been 7 days. My boner.